Good morning, guys. Welcome to Tuesday, May 5th. Taco Tuesday, right? Cinco de Mayo. Good morning. It's nice to see you guys. If you don't know me, I'm Marshall Burtcher, and I help codependents and people pleasers, survivors of narcissistic abuse, rediscover happiness after that abuse and after their codependency. So today we're going to be talking about something quite... I don't see talked about a lot, but it's about asking. Are we asking the right people for what we need and what we want? So before we get started with that, I need to share this out to the community. The community is your safe haven. So if you're struggling with codependency, you're struggling with the impact of narcissistic abuse, you're struggling to find a pathway through, to find community, if you're feeling like you're crazy, this is your shelter. Join us. The link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, because I put out trainings 2 to 3 times a week on average. So let me get this shared out to the community real quick before we get started, and the internet will do its thing, and voila, there we are. So let me know in the comments below how you guys are doing, how things have been for you. Boom, now it's shared to the community. Appreciate you guys. Let's jump in here. So, are you asking the right people for what you want and need? In codependency, we have a really deeply ingrained habit of chasing people that are unavailable to us. Typically, they're also very unhealthy for us, but we're chasing them. We want that person to love us. We want that person to choose us. Because if they do that, then we feel valuable, we feel worthy, we feel lovable. We're seeking permission through their approval to be lovable and to be who we are. In other words, we've made them the authority over our worth and our value. We need to retrieve that from them so that we can become autonomous from them, so that we can also see them honestly. We can know ourselves, we can understand what really matters to us, what produces happiness for us, and then understand how they fit with that. And this gets directly into the heart of, are you asking the right people for what you want and need? Because most of the time you're not. Most of the time you have a want and need, and then you run to the abuser and ask them for it, or the avoider and ask them for it. You're running towards people who are running from you or turning towards you and harming you with that information, because that's what you know. It's actually not something to feel shame about or guilt about or to condemn yourself over. It's actually something to understand, because this is a product of how you were raised. Your brain is only doing what it knows. It can only do what it knows. And so what it understands is, hey, if I go out, if I have a need and want, this is the kind of person I understand. This is the kind of person I know. This is the kind of person that I can predict things with. So I'm going to ask that kind of person for what I need and want. Now, that experience is going to be terrifying, because your body knows that a lot of times this results in an experience of harm or rejection that is, collapsing and crushing and deflating for you. Now, this begins to shift when we understand and then be our value, be our innate worth. Being, we sense it, we feel it, we live from it. It's an energy within us that typically comes up as joy. Right? It's really consistent playfulness, openness, and then through the lens of that innate value, we can choose different people. Because the goal here is to get your needs and wants met, right? Now, the thing about needs and wants are good. Needs and wants are valuable. They're important. They matter. And they're worthwhile. Needs and wants are a means of connection and contribution between people. They're part of how we build relationship and intimacy and connection and a life together, with whether it's a friendship or an intimate relationship or business relationship. We all have a need or a want, and we ask them for it, and they can contribute to us. This creates a sense of connection and being loved and valued. Very different than being valuable or lovable, because the valuable and lovable concepts fall in line with your internal sense of self, your internal sense of your relationship with that worth. That's something you need to cultivate, and you need to cherish and nurture and value within inside yourself. And then within your relationships, it becomes about being valued and contributed to and contributing to them. So you're not seeking your value through the relationship. Instead, you're seeking connection in which to contribute and receive through. Very different concepts there. And it's a big shift, because when I was seeking my value and my lovableness, my worthiness through other people's approval, I was terrified of them. But they also had all the power, and I made them responsible for how I felt about myself. So if they rejected me, or they were disappointed in me, or they just said no, I collapsed. I would curl inside and like, ooh, I'm a terrible and ugly, disgusting person. And then I would hide. I'd run and hide. I'd sabotage relationships in order to prevent real love showing up, because I didn't understand how to feel safe in real love. But as I evolved out of that codependency, made contact with my innate value, began to really know and love and appreciate me, because I am valuable to me. I cherish me. I began to choose people that cherished me just by their own nature. They found value in having a relationship with me. It wasn't transactional. They weren't just there for a benefit. They valued the connection they experienced with me. And I found that with friends that I had previous to that awakening and after that awakening. That's important, guys, because what really matters when it comes to asking for our wants and needs is who we're asking. And to understand who to ask, we need to understand what we want and how we want it before we can ask who for it. Does that make sense? That's the what, how, who approach to needs and wants, to contribution and receiving. So when I know what I want and how I want it, then I can identify people that are both safe and trustworthy, have integrity, and available for it. I can ask them for that, and then they'll contribute it to me in a way that makes sense to me and in a way that fulfills them. So you get this reciprocation going on of connection. Now, your big challenge here is to stop asking people who are harmful to you for your wants and needs. Now, let me know in the comments below if this is making sense, what you're getting out of this, because I'll make sure this is on target for you. But this is a big challenge, guys, because we often run towards people who are unhealthy or incompatible or unavailable for us, ask them for what we want and need, then we go through this discard experience or this unavailable experience, and we feel worthless, and we feel shameful and guilty and like a burden. And that's not because our needs and wants are shameful or guiltful or a burden. It's because we're asking the wrong person. We're not asking people who are really there for us. Now, right now in your life, there may not be many of those in your world. That's part of the adventure here, is building this out. Yeah, correct. Narcissists are not safe. Right on, Michelle. Because they're not. Narcissists come from a different operating system. The way, when they say love, they have a very different meaning and intention and experience behind that word than a codependent does, for instance, or anybody else outside of that spectrum does. For a narcissist, a love is a transaction. It's the gaining of supply or fuel from another person. It's about possession. It's not about respect and connection. They don't understand. Connection for a narcissist is the transactional experience. It's like, I asked you for something and I got it. Now I feel connected. And then they go off and do their thing. They haven't reciprocated anything to you. So a real connection is this reciprocation of experience emotionally and physically and mentally with another individual. They don't value that because there isn't any supply in that for them. There's no fuel. There's no inflation of their sense of self and things like that. But with healthy people, we value that because that's what we're seeking. And dominantly, codependency, we're just people who are seeking connection from the unhealthy, unsafe sources. So we've got to learn how to connect with healthy sources and healthy options for us and receive rather than control, and learn how to allow ourselves to be valued. And that's our big challenge here. And that all, in my book, that all starts with coming back to innate value and understanding that we are worthy, not just here in our head, but being it. In the happiness strategy, we go really deep in that with this process called value retrieval. And that's a process we do for over 10 weeks, and getting deep into that using the nurturing value practice that I teach in that. That's imperative. And then, guys, the other trick to this is to start healing the emotional impact of that narcissistic abuse. We do that through a program called Heal, that's exclusively available through the Rapid Heal system. If you want more information on that, the link is above, on Facebook, below, on YouTube. And it's a 12-week process that helps you release or decouple your sense of self from shame, guilt, fear, and fatigue, and helps you bring love back into that space, which then, sets up the foundation to reconnect with that innate value and really discover your true value, voice, and vision there. That's the key here, because when we really come back to value, we really are coming from who we are. Then we're going to choose people who love and like us for who we are, because we're going to be able to identify them. We're going to be able to build trust with them. We're going to feel worthy of having that kind of attention, and we're going to be able to maintain and keep them in our lives. So guys, if you're struggling to get your needs and wants met, you need to slow down and ask yourself if you're asking a person who really gives a shit about your wants and needs, who cares about how you feel. Because if you feel they don't, then they may not. They may not, and that's a really important thing to pay attention to. If you feel like you're being used, you feel like everything's just their way or the highway, or it's always about them, those are red flags. Those are really important signals that you are not being nurtured nor valued. You're being used for supply. So take time to check in with that and go, okay. Now, that can get confusing too, because you can get love bombed or seduced by that person, especially when you pull away. Those are hooks. That's their attempt to keep you in line, keep you there for their benefit. A healthy person isn't going to make you... You're not going to be questioning if you're valued by someone if they're valuing you. Period. And this doesn't just apply to narcissistic relationships or healthy ones. This just applies in general. Because even healthy people, they may not be all that interested in you. So they don't really reciprocate. We see this a lot in dating, right? It's like, it's not. So, but they're not being very upfront. That doesn't mean they're a narcissist. That doesn't mean they're actually toxic or there's something, bad. It's really that they're probably... it's a very uncomfortable experience to say, I'm not really that interested. But they need to up their ante there, right? But you also can confront them on, hey, I don't feel like you're really valuing me here. Is this really working for you? Get real bold with it. So... guys, we have to get sober with whom we're asking for what we want, because that's where a lot of our pain comes from. We keep asking the wrong people for what we need and want, and then having a terrible experience. Well, if we shift our sense of worth, and we start to open up to people who would want to contribute to us and want to receive from us, then we're going to find real friendship, real companionship, a community that cares. This is where you start to experience people love and like you the way you love and like them, that kind of thing. So that's what I want you to explore today. Are the people I'm asking for what I need and want reciprocating? Do I feel seen and valued? Do I feel cared for? Do I feel like I matter to them? And if you're struggling to find the yes answer to that, then you're going to want to step back and start evaluating those relationships and start also looking around and seeing if there's other people that you are in relationship with that are valuing you, and you can start to invest some of your time and attention there. So that's your experiment for today, guys. Go out there and play with this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate you. Thank you for being the badass that you be. And remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And I will see you guys in our next training video. Bye-bye.